Hello everyone, I'm Evan Baker, and welcome to Ice Night Gaming, where skill is inconsequential. Today, we are playing World of Warcraft, and we are starting a new segment on the channel where I'm going to go over lists in the different games that I play, and I'm just going to give a breakdown of some of my favorite weapons in each game. So the first one we're going to do today is my 10 favorite one-handed swords in World of Warcraft. So I've got uh, my warrior here, and we're going to use the collections feature to showcase them. Just a couple of uh, takeaways before we begin. Number one, I just want to let you know that these are not in particular order, except for maybe a semblance of when they were actually released into World of Warcraft. Number two, there are over just in one-handed swords, there are over 600 weapons in World of Warcraft. It was really tough to choose just 10 that I liked. So at the end, we've got 5 honorable mentions, which I'll go over quickly too. So without anything further ado, we'll get right to it. But before we begin, I want to give a big thank you to all of my amazing patrons for their incredible generosity. More about how you can support the channel at the end of this episode. But for now, we've got a lot to cover today, so let's get to it. So the first weapon on our list today is the Phantom Blade. Now, the Phantom Blade is a one-handed sword. You can actually make this sword with your professions, but there's also some variants of this weapon, and I can show those off right now. So you've also got the Continuum Blade, but you also have the Blade of the Archmage, Fiery Vengeance, the Ethereum Phase Blade, Renataki's Soul Slicer, and the Vibro Sword. So these all share the same model as the Phantom Blade, and it makes it real easy to pick and choose a color if you want. They're all listed separately though, so you do have to get each one, unlike some which basically they'll have the same model. So coming in at number 9, we have the Merciless Gladiator's Slicer. This was an old PvP weapon. I don't think you can get that one anymore, but there is another sword that carries the same model, which you can snag from Gruul's Lair, and it's the Bloodmaw Magus Blade. It has the exact same model as the Merciless Gladiator Slicer, and you can farm Gruul, so that's always handy. Number 8, we have the Hailstorm, which is a drop from Malagos in the Eye of Eternity on 10-player mode. I actually kind of really like the sword. It's got a mixture of magic and ice feel to it, and I've always kind of liked ice-based weapons. This is another one that I've tried to get for a while, and I just haven't been able to. Coming in at number 7, we have Crusader's Glory. Now you can get the Crusader's Glory from Anubarak in Trial of the Crusader on 10-player heroic and regular 10-player mode. So you actually have 2 ways to get this. And I mean, right now most players can solo the content anyway back in Wrath of the Lich King. So you also, you've got options there. Now there's another one, which I actually have this one. I forget where you get it, but there's also a weapon called the Crashed Gyrocopter Rotor. It's the same model, just in a different color. So you've got the red and the gold. At number 6, we have the Fang of Twilight. Now, the Fang of Twilight can be acquired from 2 of the bosses in the Bastion of Twilight on 10-player heroic and 25-player heroic. There's also a version of the sword called the Lava Spine, which can be got from Magma in Blackwing Descent. And there's, you know, you can cycle through. There's two versions of it, but they're both the same. It's just one is from regular mode, the other is from heroic mode. But that gives you four different ways to get the sword if you want this one for transmog purposes. Coming in at number 5, we actually have a trio of swords, and it's Kilrock's Furious Blade. The blade actually comes in 3 different color schemes. It comes in a purple, an amber, and a green. It all depends on which version of the raid you're doing, because these all drop from the same raid. They all drop from the Siege of Orgrimmar, and they drop from the Paragons of the Klaxi. The green one, which you're seeing, I'll show you each one on screen and explain and tell you where they come from. So the green one here is in the Looking for Raid difficulty. The amber colored one is in normal, and then this purple one is in mythic. Now, if I had to pick just one of them to have, I would actually probably go with the green one or the amber one. If I had to pick, the purple one's okay too, but I think I'm part and partial to the amber, just because that was the Klaxi's whole thing. Amber was kind of like their thing. Coming in at number 4, we have another set, just because there's 4 different versions of this sword. So you have the Luminous Edge of Virtue. So you've got this purple one on Looking for Raid difficulty, this yellowish one in the normal mode, this red colored one in mythic, and then you also have this blue one in heroic mode. All 4 of them are really nice. I wouldn't mind trying to go through Uldir in all 4 modes just to try to get all 4 appearances. But I'm partial to the red one and the blue one. The other two are nice as well. At number 3, we have the Harmonious Watcher's Spell Sword. Now, I'm pretty sure that this, one thing that it is, it's from a vendor, but one thing else I'm pretty sure of is that you wouldn't actually use this on a warrior. I believe this is actually a like a mage weapon. Mostly because it calls it a spell sword. But I like the design. I like the hilt and pommel are really impressive, and then I like the subtle glow and the etching along the blade. So this one's nice for that reason. Coming in at number 2 on our list is the Gleaming Quell Serar. Now you get this from Annexia as of Wrath of the Lich King. Anyway, when they reintroduced her raid in that. It's actually a nice looking sword. I like the design. It actually pairs well with another sword you can get, which I have as a 2-handed weapon, which is why it's not on this list. But when I will do a list of 2-handed swords, and that will definitely be on it. But overall, this is a nice looking blade. The design's nice. The blade, while a little unorthodox, is nice. It's actually big for a one-handed sword, but that kind of works anyway. At number 1 on our list, we have the Replica Lion's Fang. This was actually given to all players when the World of Warcraft movie was released. Warcraft, anyway. But I like the design. I liked it in the movie. I like this too. It's just a nice sword overall. I use this one once in a while when I want to switch up my transmogs a little bit, just because of that. So those are my picks for my 10 favorite one-handed swords. Like I said, they're in no particular order, basically just the order that I got them in, or that the order they appear on the actual list, which I have right here, which I was kind of thumbing through a little bit, showing you other models. Before we sign off, though, I just want to give out 5 honorable mentions. So we have the Scale Shard, which is the relic weapon that you received in the Legion expansion. You get this alongside of the shield of the Earth Warder. So I like the design overall, and I like that later on they added the fact that you can actually use these as transmogs, even after the expansion was over. So that was kind of a nice feature. Our next honorable mention is the Devouring Cold, which you get from Kel'Thuzad in the Sanctum of Domination, which is part of the Shadowlands expansion. You know, mild spoilers. Um, it's got, like a lot of swords, it's got 4 modes based on what you've got. You've got your normal mode, then you've got your looking for raid mode one, you have heroic, and then you have mythic. Now, of all of them, I like the looking for raid and the normal mode ones because they kind of look more like Death Knight weapons. I like the gold. I kind of like the gold color scheme on the heroic version, and the red one kind of like speaks to this idea of a, like a blood Death Knight using it instead of like a frost or something. But overall, this is another one that I wouldn't mind having all 4 models of as a one-handed sword. Our next honorable mention is the Turning Tide, which drops from Kel'Thuzad in the 25-player Naxxramas in Wrath of the Lich King. I like the look of the sword. It's almost like it's obviously looks like any other Death Knight weapon, but it almost also looks like a discount Frostmourne. Like, if you wanted something that looks like Frostmourne, this is the weapon to get. It's got some extra details. It has more runes on it. Definitely has some extra points. Then we have, as another honorable mention, we have the Doubt Tinged Longsword. You actually can get this from vendors, and you've got a longsword version and a slicer version. They're the same. They're the same sword. There's probably just different stats on them, but I like the look of the sword. It's got a unique little hilt and pommel. I like the color scheme and the etching along the blade. So nice overall. And the last honorable mention on today's list is Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker. This is our only legendary weapon on our list today, and this is actually very time consuming to get. It actually takes a lot of back and forth. One thing you got to do is you have to go into the Molten Core a lot because you need basically the 2 bindings of the Windseeker, which help create the blade. You need materials and such like that. So that about does it for today's episode. The videos I create on my channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of my Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the work here I do on YouTube, please consider supporting the channel by following the link in the description below. If you're new to the channel, please remember to hit the subscribe button. I upload new videos every Sunday and Wednesday, so also remember to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next episode.